Live.
Is it afternoon yet? Good afternoon. Welcome to Meet Thyself podcast. This is episode number 4, entitled Meet Thy Demons.
We have some special guests today. We have Miyal.
Nice to meet everybody.
Miyal, introduce yourself. Say your full name if you want. And
I am Miyal McDonald, as what my mother gave me as my given name. I am a typical guy, specializing in photography and art and everything else like so, and just the occasional open-minded optimist, realist, whatever you want to call it. And that's me to a T.
excellent. Thank you. And we also have
My name is Katia. Last name is Santa. I don't know. I've been a scientist for most of my life, most of my career. I'm in the regulatory space. I'm a husky mom. It takes a lot of my time with dogs, and Brian's girlfriend. So.
thank you. It's always hard to know what to say after something gets personal,
Right.
But it was originally just going to be Miyal on the podcast today because, and I know exactly why Miyal is here after, we had a few minutes in discussion while Earen went back to get the computer. He misplaced for a minute.
It's been a crazy day.
Yeah.
I've been running around everywhere.
And, I like to say that, Miyal, you're the type of person who's connected, which often means that intuitive, empathetic, overly sensitive, and, vulnerable to the world in a lot of ways because we all have hearts. Some people feel their hearts more. And I think all 4 of us are people like that. And Katia and I had some amazing conversations today. And we ended up having the exact same conversations without any preemption with you over the last hour. And what we found is that we've all done a lot of growth, and we're going to ask some questions about that. But we all especially have demons that we are trying to defeat. And I'm not going to go too much more into it than that because today is about meeting those things that we call demons and what we do with them, how we figure them out, and what we can do to actually cast a light on the shadows of our soul and see what they say back. The reason that we can do that is because we've all had very personal experience with it, and I think we've all had recent experience with it. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sounds pretty accurate.
Well, Earen and I do a lot of talking, and so we're going to make sure to focus on the 2 of you today with whatever anxiety that might bring from your demons. But the first question that I want to ask, and I'll direct this towards Miyal and whoever wants to, this is always a free form, whoever wants to add at any time or get inspired, we'll just turn this into a conversation. But my first question, Miyal, is who are you right now?
Depends on the time frame, really. You ask me around 10 p.m., I'll be somebody different. Who I am right now is a person who is, constantly discovering himself, constantly reassessing his actions, his notions, his thought processes, and really just doing the best he can to put his best foot forward. But really, I'm a person trying to work outside of my, I think, people-pleasing aesthetics, which was something that was an anchor for me for such a long time. The weight of not wanting to say no is something that's heavy on a lot of people sometimes, and it can snowball into a bigger situation. So having my self-confidence to recognize and appreciate or just acknowledge all sides of myself, ideally today's topic, is something that I think I'm at right now, like the focal point.
How does that compare to who you were 10 years ago?
I mean, aspect of awareness wasn't there at all. It was really just a focus of be a good person. And I feel like that gets subjective at times, depending on who you ask. It's like, be a good person doesn't mean to disavow or not acknowledge all sides of yourself, because a good person is a good person, one to yourself and one to just like other people, if those situations fit. Because you can get into, say, an argument with somebody if you stand on a purpose, and not to, disrespect somebody or anything. But if we disagree, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It means we disagree. Some people may say being a good person is being kind all the time, but what does that do to yourself if you disagree with a point, or if you don't have enough to do so? And so I think back then, 10 years ago, I had no space to not even allow myself to feel that. It was just like, oh, I'm okay. I can just give this to this person, or I'm good. I can just be this for this person. And so, yeah, that is a significant portion of me that changed with livelihood experiences, interpersonal relationships, family matters, money, finances. Everything has ebb and flow. And so I feel like those kind of gave me a conditioning to life to think that just because this is this doesn't mean it has to be this.
Can you give us a specific example of a situation that you faced where you can now look back on it and point out to, we talked about some of these things before, like when you were in school, when you were in math tests.
Oh, yeah. I think schooling, so college was something that I wanted because it was the grand gesture. It wasn't a lot of things, a lot of people I knew around me at the time when I was younger that kind of strive for that. And I was like, oh, I'd love to go to college. Just what's college about? And so I made it happen, and I was very happy for it. And then it overwhelmed me when I got there, because I quite literally had everything I asked for. I was getting accolades, got things that people closed doors on me on. I just worked my way around and introduced myself, developed a personality trait that I enjoyed. And I was like, this is all good. And it became so heavy trying to balance it all. And I know, say, math was never my strong suit, which, I envy people who are. It was never mine. And there was a point where I was like, okay, I want to pass this class. I want to do this. And while studying, an easy way for me to silence all the noise in my head was just to put on headphones. Let me focus. Let me get these music. I can write. And some people, how do you do that? It's like, it's just easier for me that way. Test time came, and I had no idea what anxiety really was at that time. In certain circles in life, the acknowledgement of anxiety, the acknowledgement of depression, the acknowledgement of sadness sometimes is frowned upon. It's like, you're not sad. You're good. You're not anxious. You're fine. You're not depressed. It's okay. And so being in a scenario where test anxiety was something that hit me, I froze. I literally couldn't formulate a thought. I couldn't equate 2 + 2 at that point. And I just checked out, wrote my name, left. And at that moment in my life, I felt like I completely just failed, like I bombed. Because that following year, I lost my scholarship. I just went on academic probation. I had to leave school. And there was such a restructuring in my life where it was just like, okay, that was one thing. That one thing is not all things. So what are you going to do? And that low point was such a rapid growing experience that I was able to kind of use to create the solidification of my own confidence. Just because I was like, I've been there before. Because I've seen some people excel greatly and then get out of school and it's like, oh, I feel defeated. And I'm just like, oh, that's it. Like, let me help you out real quick. And so, the lessons in life that you kind of grab from situations is really based on perspective and your resilience in time. So it's all battle testing for real.
That's an amazing answer.
Mm.
I'm going to put a thought at that and keep that there. Did that spark anything in either one of you?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, Miyal and I have known each other for a couple years, and we're bringing these conversations out because we we feel like sharing is, it's been a really good experience for us in our friendship. I did, a lot of what you've said really resonated with me. And if I were going to answer your original question about who are you today, which is very different. Like you said, every hour we are learning and, we're experiencing life. And from our standpoint, I wanted to define myself that today I'm like an observer. I was not that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was just trying a survivor that should survive through life, through those anxieties, through the depression. So you don't have time to observe. That does not exist when you're in the middle of that chaos and that war within yourself and the outside and all those expectations of you and how, people just might seem like they have just a different path and you're on your own, but you keep comparing, you keep kind of like saying like, what is, like, these are the checklists that I need to do in life, and life just throws you curveballs all the time. So it's kind of like that's a fight within. But today I feel like I have the space to be the observer of those anxieties, not perfectly, but it's allowing me that chance to go back and understand why I do things the way that I do it now, going back to past traumas, past experiences, and how, like, I've been on tests in which they trigger me in some sort of way, and I cried in the middle of the test, and I bombed, and I just, here it is. Like, I can really resonate to that because, like, we don't have that defining of, like, life can become really overwhelming. So all those feelings show up, and that's really what my answer would be, like, very lightly for those two questions.
That's perfect because it leads me to the core. What is the observer observing? Whoever wants to answer that.
At least how I'd interpret it, it's like an out-of-body experience, realistically. Like for me, I could observe myself. There have been times, so my previous job was service industry bartending. So to just always put out to serve, to, interact with people emotionally, to kind of just create a facade, whatever fits the notion. I'm working on tips, so I have to be here. At least good bartenders, I have to be here. And there have been times I have really just been spewing whatever the situation allows for. And in my head, just like, we got 2 more hours, just keep it going. Just like really just standing outside of myself, just like, okay. And it became robotic to a point. There would be times where I've been in social gathering and situations, and it's like, okay, let me not be this anxious fly on the wall. Let me entertain the masses for whatever reason. Let me chime in with this much of a conversation to keep the ball rolling. And that's just from myself, but I can also observe interactions amongst other people. So in ways to protect myself, I could observe a room. I could read the vibe and see like, oh, this person seems angry or pretentious, or this person seems very polite or hyper positive, or this person seems like depressed but also artistic, or like, and just gauge and trying to sit back and just look around and then see exactly where I fit the best, or see exactly how I can best maneuver these situations to protect myself. And sometimes it's a tool. Sometimes it's very cool to be able to do so. And sometimes it's also a mask to just protect yourself from not really knowing who you want to be because of fear of not being accepted. It's also like, hey, I like these things to myself. And one person, one time, 12 years ago said it was stupid. I don't want that feeling anymore. So I know I can fit in with what you like. Let me do this for now until I get to know where you are. Okay. And so like, it's just a mask sometimes. And I'm not saying it's wrong for anyone to do so, but doing so too much can also be very, very limiting on your own personal growth, because there's no challenge in putting yourself out there. It's like, oh, I can always wear this armor to fit where I need to. And then that real self is just always just kind of tucked away.
Actually, me and Brian last podcast, I spoke about that, having I called it a wall.
Mhm.
I feel like I observe first,
Mhm.
and I so like what you said.
Mhm.
You try to fit in or try to do stuff. You try to analyze that person, where you like you don't want to make the wrong joke, right? Or you see how they interact a certain way, so you try to match that interaction. You know, I often get along with people that are introverts because a lot they just talk and they give themselves out. So that to me, I'm willing to give myself out if they do. But if we both observing, we're both gonna be like pretty like
That subtle body language, like
right. Like I'm gonna be reading you like, well, I don't know you as a person, but some of the people I got best along with was people that just like don't mind sharing anything. And then I want to share, and then it's like I match that energy. But I want to be that person that shares and not without that wall, because I feel like that it restricts. For me, I feel like it just restricts so much.
Oh, absolutely.
It's we're just reading people, there's relationships. So yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
Well, I could say drawing influence from Katia, our relationship. She was a person I was serving. I was bartending often, and it was usually amongst a group of people, always just kind of pleasant. Just over time, we just like, hey, I enjoy this person's energy. Like, okay. After I think the one breakthrough we had within our conversations, our friendships, was when you complimented my artwork. So me doing photography, I had mentioned to her, I'm like, I'm tired of doing cliche stuff. At that time, I didn't know what that meant internally, but I was like, I'm tired of taking pictures that are just like aesthetically, oh, this is Instagram friendly. Oh, people like this. Oh, it's very happy. I'm like, I'd rather 10 people look at me and be like, that's strange. I'm like, thank you. That's what I wanted. I wanted to actually hit something else that you don't talk about. I wanted to do that. And she approached me and said, I have a birthday coming up, and I remember our conversation you had about doing some outside of the box artwork, and I would love for you to do that with me. And I was like, you joking? Like, people don't just say that. Like you serious? And she's like, no, seriously, I have no ideas, I have no plans, but I trust you. And I remember what we shot that day. It was one of the most funnest experiences ever. But that led me into something to think like somebody who looks at artwork in that way certainly has a mindset to think like outside the box, which led into our other conversations that led us up to here we are today. So looking at the introspective side of people, I think talking about things often gets lost and people don't forget how to communicate things, because I think those are different. Because talking about things, we already have a notion of how we want to speak to each other. Being able to communicate things is different per person. So talking to people in certain situations, they'll be like, oh, well, I tried to tell them this, but they didn't want to hear it. Like, did you say how they would hear it though? Did you communicate how they would receive it? And that takes time, because if you deal with someone, say if we're talking about an introvert at a party, they're like, I think there's something with that person. You can't just be like, hey, what's your name? With that immediate defense mode, you're not going to get a real version. Or if you're dealing with somebody who's prideful, it may take time. So I'm like, you don't talk about emotions that much. If you're a man with a pride and ego, it's like, oh, I don't talk about emotions. That approach for me might be like, hey, you okay? I'm okay. Cool. And that might be something I need to tell this person for months. Are you okay? Because now the ground level is there to be like, I see you. Whenever you want to talk, let's talk. That communication gets lost in transition when ego gets involved. So people are like, well, I'm communicating with this person. Like, you're talking at that person. Like, how do you talk about these points? How do you communicate these points with people? And that's something I feel like it gets lost, or when I get resentful, if I need to talk about something, like I need you to see through that sometime. Like, give me that grounding, that space to just be like, let me tell you when I can tell you, or in bits and pieces. So sorry, that was a rant, but
That's perfect. That's what we do on this podcast. We go on deep rants. But y'all hit on some things, and Katia, you hit on some things this morning, and this episode is about our demons. And what are demons if we cannot name them? What are our demons if we cannot see them? And so I'm going to say a few words to y'all that I've heard everyone, including myself, use. And instead of describing what they mean, what they've done for us, what the result is, I want all of you to go around and describe the visual of what it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Earen, I'm going to start with you. What does your wall look like in your mind?
Brick.
How big? What color?
It's taller than me. It's red brick. But also I'm on the other side of it.
What
So
version of
there's-
you? Who's on the other side? What does he look like? How old is he?
Oh, it's just me currently. So it's just like me looking at a wall. Every time I talk about my wall, I visualize like a brick wall in between me and another person.
Hmm.
So that's that wall for me. You know, that's
How far does it stretch in either direction?
it's just average brick wall.
Is it connected to something?
No. It's actually I'm in like a white space. And there's just a wall. You can see around it and everything, but there's a wall. And that's what a wall is, you know. It's you can step around the wall. You're just standing in front of it.
Katia, what does your wall look like?
Oh, it looks like a labyrinth. Really, it's more complex. It has like moving pieces, and it's a game. We're talking about that, but it has little holes in it, and just it's not perfect. It's not neat. It can have little bricks, but there's always like little, areas in which you can see something on the other side.
What color is it?
It's just gray and just gray.
What shapes are the bricks in the grayness?
Different. They're not perfect. So they're just kind of like really just that the builder just did it outside of that survival. Like just go quick. Let's go quick.
What does the builder look like?
Hmm?
What is
Builder
the
is me.
is it
Yeah,
an image of you?
It's an image of me today, constantly building or tearing down walls within my brain, depending on the situation. Sometimes I have a breakthrough, and those days I'm really happy that it was that one wall came down. But some days situations happen, and then you realize, wait, where did this wall came about? What was the origin? I didn't see it was there. Who put it there? And just to bring like that metaphor to more real, it's basically kind of like going back to the analogy of being the observer. Is kind of like what led me to do that and maybe 10 years ago I wasn't able to ask myself those questions, and then discovering through other people, through interactions or through conversations like this, other challenges, other questions like why haven't I asked who's on their other side of that wall. It's like I didn't think about that, but I've had this image, or I've had this self-talk, negative self-talk is definitely real. It's taken a shape. It grows. It's a little monster that we have, and it takes up space in that. So
I want you to remember that monster, because we're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
That monster is the first demon that has come up in this, and so we're going to get to that. But Miyal, what does your armor look like? Because you don't have a wall, you have armor.
Glad you said that, because I don't have a wall, I have armor. That's exactly what I said in my head. Anime reference, I immediately thought about Berserk. But I spare that for the audience. I'm not sure if they seen it, but it really is just armor. It's just
Describe it to us, for those of us who have not seen Berserk. What is it made out of? What does it look like? What is give it to us.
It's not exactly Guts' armor, but for me, you could just say, I wouldn't say white knight, but I'd just say like polished armor. And as I see it, it's just there. It's not exactly impervious, but it's just strong armor. And it's not just armor, it's chainmail, it's leather, it's protection. And I guess the battle that it's tested for is like, okay, I guess not exactly a fight, but it's just like when in my head I see it as the people I'm in battle against are the people that I get to acknowledge, the people I get to examine, the people I get to figure out. So if I figure you out, I've played you in battle. It's like, nope, still protected, I'm still safe. And it's kind of like that bloodlust in war, like, oh, I want to die on the battlefield. Like, if you break this armor, like, I'm happy. Like, I'm going to Valhalla, like, you knock the armor off. Thank you. I don't have to wear this anymore. And like, the more people I get through in battle, the more that armor is still there. And it's like, well, you didn't beat me yet. Like, it's like, I've told many people, like, one thing I've done to kind of curb my own insecurities or vulnerabilities, I just forthright speak my insecurities with people I trust. I'm like, if I do this, understand this is why. So if I do it, I'm letting you know that's why. If I tell you that and you don't observe it, I'm like, I'm going to keep doing it. So it's like, it was an act of a way for me to limit my manipulation in situations. It was an act of way for me to be like, for my friends to like, I can tell you're BSing. I can see that. And I'm like, thank you, because I was. And I'm like, this is the truth. And so it's like those safeguards, I try to like eliminate. Like, I don't want that. Like, I want to be open, but I just can't do it. Like, I can't do it by myself. Because if I just told you something, 9 times out of 10, I have something else in my head to avert from that. Just because it's like a safeguard. So that's what that armor is for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, the description, the visual, the acknowledgement of it. I'm in your boat. I also have armor. I don't have walls because for me, I never felt like there was a wall to protect me. I always just got hit straight in the heart with the arrow. And so there is no wall there. There is no wall that I can put up to protect me, that I can keep things out from. So it must be close to me. And I still feel the hit. The first time I saw my armor, it was rusted. It was rusted so much that it could barely move. And when it did, it was a loud, aggressive squeak. Something that needed more than a can of WD-40. It was made out of iron. It was heavy. It was made out of wood and stone. And the parts you could see once worked together, but they were too slow moving. That was about 5 years ago. I saw it for the first time. Now the armor is polished. And I see a different man inside that armor than I used to. When I saw him, he was anywhere from 90 to 190. He was weathered, scarred. His face sagged with wrinkles. And he moved like he was 190. Today, he's probably about 55 to 60. He has gray hair that's as long as mine is now. He's a lot different, a lot happier. There's still the armor, though. I've seen him take it off once in a while, but it doesn't stay off.
It's like, when you mentioned armor, I guess the metaphoric side of mine, like, yeah, mine is polished too, but it's not like, it's like I take pride in it. And that's the scary part too. It was like,
because you feel strength.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's because it's like, I take pride in being able to acknowledge a situation before I'm in it. I take pride in being able to see things before they happen. And then that armor has also been like weighted because I guess like behind that armor is like the people that I felt like I had to protect because it was what I was good at. It's like, okay, they didn't ask for it. It's just like, nah, I got it because I saw it. Like, it's cool. And like, not to avert, but something I wrote while I was journaling was just like, because like as I wrote, I had to create a space in my writing that kind of projected all my selves. So I was just talking to myself from different perspectives.
Pause on that.
Okay.
I want you to talk about those different selves because that is the crux of what we are getting to today. You mentioned earlier that you would have a conference table and you would have those different parts of yourselves open. We need to know them.
Yeah.
Can we be introduced?
Absolutely. So with that writing, I couldn't write singularly. I couldn't write in one way because the thoughts would always run off. And so I would get frustrated looking back at a journal like this didn't make sense. Like I was just jotting stuff down. And so I was like, it was crazy. I heard something on the movie. The movie was really insignificant, but it was something that really stood out to me. It was a movie about a journalist, and she said, stuff that people want to read, or when you're writing like you don't give a damn, like when you're writing like for yourself. And I was like, I have to do that, because oftentimes I would censor my own journals like somebody was going to read them. It's like, no, this is mine. So the only way I could do it was to separate myself from myself in a way. So in my head, I sat at a table with, so all of you would be my personality traits, and it would be my anxiety, my accountability, my other selves, my conscious goods and bads, if you want to call it that. And they would just give me the freedom to speak honestly, to hold myself accountable, but to also give myself grace at the same time. Like, let's talk about what happened. Like, you know what happened. Don't sugarcoat it. This happened. It's like, you're right. That did happen. This happened, but you're okay. You're right. Okay, I did do that. So I would really just write like that. And so what I wrote to myself one day when I was having an issue, it was kind of like, it was metaphoric. It was like, okay, you have built a castle for a community. The townspeople love this castle. The patrons in the castle love the castle. The queen of the castle loves the castle. And the king of the castle, which would be myself, would probably be happier with the shed out back. Because you built that shed for yourself. That's yours. But you love that people love these castles. You love that they love it. But you would rather spend much more time in that shed out back. And I got more honest with myself. It's like, well, sir, tell me what that castle is. I wrote it just like that. Like, tell me what it is. Okay, this is what this is. That castle was my life. That castle was my accolades. That castle was my rewards. That castle was everything I did that I feel like I had gotten praise for. And then I was like, well, why don't you appreciate it? It's like, did you do it for the praise or did you do it for yourself? Like, it's a very big thing when you wear that armor and you protect those people, you carry those things. Like, this is my duty. But who are you when you're not caring for somebody? Like, who are you when nobody relies on you? Who are you when you're not fixing their problem? Like, who is that person in that void? It's like, you don't know. It gets real lonely when you don't have a purpose at that point. If your purpose is people, you always need people. So when you're alone, you're like, I need people. And in my head, that's codependency. I don't like codependency, because if when I'm alone, I'm like, I need a person. I need that. And so that's how that broke down. And so it was able for me to sit with that and to be like, okay, this is how these things are. Well, writing like that helped me strip all myself, because they were all there. It's like, you can't hide from this, because this person's at the table. They know it. Well, this person's there. They know it. So it's like, that's what helped me sit with it and just be like, okay, I have to just rest in this. And I feel like that's a scary place where people don't like to be. You don't get to rest in your things, but they're there. Like, it's there. So that's why I open that table for those people. It's like, let's all have a conversation. Because it's not scary. It's just like, hey, it's like, you got student debt. Of course, nobody wants to look at that bill, but it's like, guess what? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here's the bill. Now you see it. Now it's like, oh, it's not scary anymore. Still got to fix it. It's just there. But when you try to ignore it, then that thought creates things. It's like, oh, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. It's like, no, it's that.
So what would you say creates the demon? And what does that demon look like?
Demon, I think it's demons in general. It's like plurality, but I think most of us just have a construct of what we perceive as what good and bad is. And that creates the demons. And there's not much space for people to acknowledge themselves. And when I say themselves, I mean sides of themselves, without judgment, without preconceived notions, without that space. And so I think that's what creates the demon.
What does the person or the thing inside of you look like that creates those? Who is that?
Oh, it's just a different version of me.
Okay, what does
ideally.
that version of you look like? How old are they? What is their face? How are they standing?
Oh, they've all been there. I think they just kind of like gremlins, they just kind of popped up differently as I got older. And I think how I would visualize them would just be me in different outfits, you know, me in different forms of the time of day. Say if I am feeling rebellious and I have a drink or two, the conscious side of myself that's like, no, don't do that, don't do that. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna take a nap right now because I'm tired. So the rebellious side will come out and cool. And that side is probably like wearing sunglasses somewhere, just like mischievous but confident. It's like, I'm here now. And then although my regular everyday person is like, man, it's a little risky, he's also like, but he's cool as hell. Like, oh, like I don't like him, but he's cool. And then there is the, I guess, depressed, anxious side. That's probably real somber, probably quote unquote hipster, like in all gray off in a corner, just minding his business. And it's like my normal self, my everyday self is like, I want to talk to that person because I feel like he has a lot to say. And then there's that hyper extrovert that's probably like in a graphic tee and a ball cap, just super hyper and everything else. It's like, yo, like I want to hang with this guy. He's gonna like carry me along because I'm just like kind of shy, but he's not. So it's like they're all just versions of me. And it's just like they all have to just be in certain times where they just kind of coincide and just being comfortable with them. I feel like demons aren't bad. I feel like everybody tries to lean toward the good, but everybody is made in a balanced portion because you can't have light without darkness. So it's like without ego, you don't have confidence. You know, without sadness, you don't have happiness. Like, so you need balance in all those ways. But I feel like we live in a society now that you live in cancel culture. You make a mistake, people want to hang you for it. It's like this person was just real. You know, it's just had a real moment for a real second. And then it's like if it's not the over positive, happy, confident, don't take any away from it, it's like, oh, it's chastisement. So people hide it away. Then you make a demon because it's not good. It's not this, it's not that. And then a lot of down to earth people have all these things that I'm talking about. It's just cared for in a different way. So
That is amazing, and thank you for sharing. I know that, Earen, you haven't spoken in a minute.
So, restate the question if you can.
Who are the entities within you? Who are the ones that, like Miyal, come to the table? Who are the ones that you can picture and understand and talk to if you so choose to do so? What do they look like? Not what do they mean? Not why are they here? Just describe.
For me, when I think of it, because I've never thought about it. I've never like broke it down for myself. But when I do, I think about the version of myself that I used to be.
How old are they?
Probably 18, 25.
Okay. What do they look like?
Look like me. Younger version of me.
How are they standing? Are they sitting? What are they doing?
We're standing. We're kind of like face to face.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. I was gonna say like that. Ti. I don't know if you remember that Ti album cover.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
looking in the mirror and he's looking back at himself. It's kind of like that.
Mhm.
It's just the version of me now standing in front of that is just the person I'm becoming, right? Becoming better. And the person I was is looking back at me. And, there's no other people there because I don't know. I had everything inside that person: the anxiety, the depression, the negative is all in that other person, and it often I revisit that other person. That's one thing I'm finding out through therapy of why I revisit that other person. Why won't I let go?
If that person had something that they wanted you to ask them, what would it be?
They had something. I'm not too sure. I'll have to think about that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Would you like to share some of your experiences? Because I know that.
Yeah. So, but before I share mine, I wanted to touch on what you said about protection. Because it feels like when you have this committee, at the end of, they're not perfect. They represent different phases of you, angles of you as a person. But it seems like their goal is kind of like to protect you in some way. Like even with, the anxiety, it's something I learned in therapy, where it's like, I have high functioning anxiety, but it's there. I always thought it was negative, a very big flaw, something that will never let me kind of like break through it. But it helped me to see it as my anxiety is trying to protect me. What do I need protection from? And then that made me recently kind of look at more in depth, like childhood experiences, trauma experiences. Like if I were to say, like, I don't want to call it like a demon, but if I have a conversation with different versions of myself, like I know the 20-year-old me is a version that always pops up, because at that time, and this is through conversations that I'm like learning, okay, in that moment in time, I went through a traumatic experience of a deep sense of grief and loss. That changed my life. I don't, like, I'm trying to like, okay, it's protection, kind of like, does this version of me, do I still owe protection, or is she protecting me? Like trying to figure out that dynamic, because it's kind of still like not very solid. It's a work in progress trying to learn those things, when if you're like me, like really I don't have time for this. I don't view you're in engineering or any other field, but go back to that test, go back to that classroom, you're like, I don't have time for this. And when you keep telling yourself that just so you can be present in the moment, you're really deteriorating yourself and your spirit and your soul. And that's why you maybe go back and just see like
just delaying it.
And it's kind of like looking back at yourself, and I'm like, oh, that person that I'm thinking about and showing up for me was not, corrupted in that way. It still held that some sort of joy out of life, just kind of like, life happens and there's a lot of work that goes with it. So I sit down with that, and then I know, as from my personal experience, and especially with therapy, I've always tried to work on a lot of negative talk. I always say, like, a lot of what other people say or think about me is not going to be any better or any worse than what I think about myself. So that is definitely something that I've always described to people, that have been close, and I've shared that with, like, venom. It's my venom. It's kind of like, it's sitting there. It's all this like slimy, it can get through the holes of my wall, and at the same time it's trying to play tricks on me. It's kind of like second guessing. It's like I'll have like an experience and say like, this is what it is, but am I sure? Or is this playing a trick? Or a math equation is supposed to get you one answer. I'm like, but where is the catch here? And then it's just overthinking that. Just extremes are always like not the best. So it's kind of like trying to get all these people or demons in your head in harmony in ways that they can serve you and not you at the mercy of them. And that's how it feels like when you're like at constant war with yourself. You're at war with different versions of you, because with life you've learned lessons. And when you reframe it that way, it's kind of like, okay, what's the lesson that this is supposed to teach me? And that has been a good tool for me, to ask, what's that version? But right now, I'm still trying to get in harmony with the bully inside my brain, or with the younger version of me that did not have the tools today, that decided to do things out of survival, or because like this is being depressed in engineering or any other careers, like you're supposed to be depressed. It's not easy. This is part of the experience. But then when you keep shoving things, or under the rug, or very, very, very deep within, the labyrinth of your head, they will come up. They will come up at some point. And then I think the difference between a lot of those versions of myself is that today I can okay, I have the space to observe again and say like, okay, what needs protection? Why am I reacting that? Where am I feeling it in my body? Which was something that I used to also ignore. It's like, where is it showing up for me in my body? Because then whatever you're thinking is going to manifest itself. It'll find its way out. And if you don't let it, it'll be something physical. It'll be just more mentally crippling. So right now I feel like there's also like the adventurous and just kind of reckless person within me that I'm like, I would hang out with her. I don't, but so when there are days where that, that gets challenged, or it seems like, oh yeah, I cannot be that person. Like I have these responsibilities, or I have this or that. All these conversations go in your head and you're just like absolutely overwhelmed. So it's kind of like journaling is something that I was always told to do. And as I would just write it down, and I was just like, like I wasn't being honest with myself because I kept like scratching, deleting, or being very like, what am I going to say like this? When I was a kid, I had a diary, but then I threw it away because I didn't want anybody to read it. But I wasn't really being super open. I was just kind of like, no. But then when I've taken up writing again, it's better when you're like not giving a fuck, really. Just kind of.
When you say that about the journaling, it's like it was always like a dual feeling because I'd be like, I don't want anybody to read this,
right?
But
so personal.
But I also want to get on a microphone and yell all of this. It was the weirdest feeling. But like as you were speaking before, I was like, I have so many like self checks within myself to like curb when I'm on a snowball. Like I'm like, okay, I know I'm tripping in my head. Like I was like, I'd be going crazy in my brain. I'm like, let me go to sleep, or like let me just stop, or let me not. Like I'll just be at a manic point in my brain. I'm like, you know what this is. You know what this is. Chill for a minute, and I'll sit, or I'll find a way to distract myself, or read a book, or watch a show, and I'll come down. I'm like, you good now? It's like I had a mental Snickers or something like that. You good? Like, yeah, okay, we're good now. But
you're a different version of you when you're emotionally hungry.
And but there are things that I've acknowledged within myself that like are there that I try to work on. And I say work on is something that's like something I also deal with, because like sometimes when I'm working on it, it's like you don't need to work on it, that's who you are. Like that's okay. Like acknowledge it, be aware of it, but working on it is trying to like go against the grain of what's already there. It's like, are you trying to work on it or change who you are completely to fit a narrative that you don't have to? And so it's like I have these things in my mind where I know I am capable of a bevy of emotions. I know I have space to accommodate all those things when I'm talking to people, or have the ability to acknowledge it, look at it, recognize it, and not making it a certain way. I know in a Black community, like having a myriad of emotions is not always widely acceptable. It's kind of like, you could like suck it up, you straight. So it's like when you deal with somebody who has like anxiety, depression, like really, really dealing with stuff, like if I can talk to you, I'll talk to you. And knowing that I have that adds polish to that armor that I have. It's like, oh, I can, come on, I'll fight for you. I'll fight for you. It's like, cool. And I love being able to do that for people. And then it also adds to the back end of being like, who's going to crack this armor for me? Like, who's going to do it? And so one thing that negatively backfired from that is the fact that in my head, I had worked up this notion that I can always care about people more than they can about me, because I know how, because I know this part of you and 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 this part of you. And I didn't realize until I had hurt someone else that was just me protecting myself from disappointment. Like me saying like, oh, there's no way you could ever feel like I feel, was just something to protect me from disappointment, from being like, oh, like, if I'm fine, like I can disassociate myself from these things. If they leave first, I'm good, because I know I put myself out there. And it was until I actually hurt someone with that mindset when I was like, oh, so you do care. Like I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't expecting you to actually give a damn. Because for me, I cared about something in the way I saw it. But people who can't express emotions like we can express emotions might do that in a different way. So there might be somebody who's introverted who just calls you from time to time. And that might be extremely difficult with them for everybody else. For me, I'm like, oh, they're just calling me. For them, it's like, this is the world for me. And I'm just like, I missed that whole point. Because had my armor on, I was fighting for you. It's like, I didn't ask you to do that. And I was like, that was such a learning experience in me in that journey. I was like, wow. So even these things are not a full spectrum. Like, I was doing it for the wrong reason. I was doing it as a form of protection. I was really literally safeguarding myself because I worked right back into that role player notion, that people pleasing notion. And it wasn't true. It's like, you weren't doing this for you. You were doing this because I'm playing a role. And it still backfired. So I think with this whole conversation of demons, that's why you need to acknowledge them. Because if you don't, you work right back into the same notions without being aware of what they are.
I'm going to ask you all something real quick before. I'm sorry to cut you off, Earen, but I want to hit on this, and I also want to make sure that we all acknowledge something that's very, very real. We keep using the word metaphor. We keep bringing up, like, this isn't real. This is my imagination. How old were you when Santa Claus was no longer real and he became part of the imagination? I was 7.
To be honest, he never really existed.
Me either. I never believed.
Yeah. He was like a figment of something that was like on TV, but it was just like, oh, like, because it wasn't a representation. It was
But when you talk about TV and you talk about a person in a show, do you say, oh, the metaphor called Joey from Friends? Or do you say, yeah, when Joey did this?
I say when Joey did that.
So what I'm trying to get at here is we often say metaphors to protect us from what we consider childish notions and our own quote unquote imagination. But this is called a computer and a webcam and a microphone because I've imagined that they are so. In reality, they just are an amalgamation of things. But we've created a metaphor in language and called it. So my challenge to all of you is not to think of these things as metaphor, but your own very real realities. And if you can trust in that more and be aware that even if it is the child within us projecting it, when we disrespect that child is when the demons are formed.
I'm completely aware of that notion. I could say that I agree with that notion heavily because most of the times when I see people, it always, once you start tracking the trauma back, it's a childhood trauma response.
And is that real right now, or is that also imagined? Is that trauma now a metaphor?
It's a learned behavior on learned behavior on learned behavior. It's one of those things that just happens. And choosing to acknowledge them doesn't make them go away because they're ingrained in who you are, how you formulate your opinions, how you look at life, how you structure them. I can say, like, all of our livelihood experiences will all be different looking at it just because of how we were raised. Like the notion of Santa Claus, I can be like, it didn't affect Christmas for me, but it's like I didn't care. Or someone else could be like, well, Santa Claus was everything, and I was devastated when I realized he wasn't real. It's like, it's just, in that realization could be like, okay, how does someone deal with a traumatic response? I might be, so life is life, and somebody might be devastated, and that could be a response from that childhood representation of what that was. And so I can say I have in therapy as well, going through situations. I had a lot of, I wouldn't say mommy issues, but there were a lot of things I saw in my household with my mother, which innately triggers my ability to want to protect, which always wants me to help, which wants me to curb anxiety, which wants me to heal depression, which wants me not to have people be upset, which wants me to stray away from negativity. But if that's my response without nurturing what was, all it does is come full circle. Because if I go to attack that, I end up resenting it and then creating all of these things for myself. And so that's why back to the demons, it's important to acknowledge all sides of it, all facets of it, to see like why this is.
What do you all think happens to our demons as we shed light on them? And there's this is not my idea I'm about to share. I am setting it up, but a Tibetan, the Book of Living and Dying is what I read once. And then I started seeing this pop up over and over and over again in different, both metaphysical ideas, religious ideas, esoteric ideas. What happens when we finally are able to cast our demons in the light? Anyone?
I have a thought. I want to go first.
My thought is they become history. They can become things that you can then help somebody else through.
What would that be? What helps people in a metaphorical? Like let's take the Christian ideology, because we're in the West and we all have heard it. What would that look like? What's the opposite of that demon?
What's the opposite of that demon?
Don't think too hard.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
What guards
would you
us?
say?
What guards us?
Uh,
I'm giving you guys a real big hint here.
God, is that?
Could be.
Mhm.
We often put a guardian before the word.
Mm-hmm. Oh, guardian angel. Yes.
Our demons become angels when we are able to. How were the first demons created? What are they?
They were angels.
Fallen angels.
Yeah.
That's one of the big hints I want us to take away from this today.
Mm.
Once we shine light on, and that means to understand, to shine knowledge on, to get to know. And I love repeating this quote from Orson Scott Card at the end of Ender's Game. He says, once you know your enemy fully, you cannot help but love them. And so with the knowledge and the light that we shine on our demons, they become our greatest strengths and our angels.
I had a much more childish metaphor in my head.
Please. And it's not a metaphor, and it is the child part of you that is alive and well.
Well, it's a metaphor innately for what I thought of it as. It was like we said,
Spit it out. Go. Stop thinking. I
Oh,
want it.
yeah,
I want
it
it.
is.
Go.
I really just thought about like just welcoming somebody to the lunch table, like just having that outcast group in the corner. Like it was like,
Yes.
yeah, like Hellfire Club over there. Like, look at those weirdos. Like, no, come stay with us. It's like, oh, cool. And then there's just a cultural collective of people just all having different perspectives and just having a mute point where everybody just meets us like, this is all cool. Having that melting pot, just being like, oh, this is it. This is cool.
What I told you earlier is kind of like, oh, they just want to be part of that human experience,
Mm-hmm.
and just let them if that means like feel your feelings, how they say, like just sit with it and please like understand yourself, ask yourself what the lesson is, and just taking it from that step back and being able to do that. And that's kind of like how I see it, where it's all these parts of yourself that are there, like we said, like to protect you, show you, for you, lessons for you to learn. It's basically kind of like, yeah, this is all part of the human experience. Being angry, being sad, being upset. I often share that, I had this conflict of, and I've shared with you, that I consider myself a very empathetic person, and that has been sometimes a really good trait for me to have,
Mm-hmm.
but also the people pleasing, because I understand, or just leaving myself to a corner to show up for others.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this conflict because like I also experienced a lot of resentment, and I had that fight within myself that I did not like about myself. Like I have a lot of resentment. So these two things did not make sense to me. How can I be both?
Mm-hmm.
How does that coexist? How is that even possible?
Mm-hmm.
It's like we all have this sense. My therapist like just threw me one word. She's like, because you believe in justice. Because when somebody or something or you have wronged yourself, you're your worst enemy. Like that's you're really, just have these conversations with yourself and see how you would treat, somebody else about it. How would you approach it? But it's basically that word that really binded those two together. It's like, oh, okay, this is why, and just really defining everything, even having not these metaphors, but like these real experiences that we have in our heads, these conversations that we have, whether it is a war in your head or just an actual like committee, like we'll have a summit here and talk about what's going on and acknowledge it, whatever that looks like, is real. And it's just coming to terms. I lost my train of thought but that's kind of like what it always comes up for me when I think about the versions of me that I do not like versus the versions of me that I'm proud of and I need to protect. So
those are all amazing answers. Earen, do you have anything you want to add before I start to get to some of the tools? Go ahead, please.
You don't necessarily even have to answer this, but you can think about it. Do you have space or acceptance within yourself for the parts of you that you don't like?
I am starting to get there. I'm in that journey. I paused it. I was just like, it was a constant battle of, but it's not until I start to redefine things. And, like I said, it was two things I did not like that I have resentment, but now I am able to give myself that grace to be like, this is why, and look further deep down. Why is that? What experiences have you gone through that have made you and brought you here, alive and well, thankfully. So, just having that introspection that I was afraid of. It's not like I've never been personally a person that's self-aware, but when I knew it was going to cause so much pain, it's easy to again, I don't have time for this. I really don't. So you show, but then the fuel is that you have to show up for others. You have responsibilities. Life is not going to stop whether you want to. So the negative self-talk, it was like, you want to fall on your feet and you just cry and just not do anything, that's going to make things worse. You don't have time for that. Keep going. Yeah. And then that just festered.
I know, to share this insight, because it turned out to be one of the most beautiful things that I had that happened when I was 25. I shared this story with a couple of people, but it was really nice. For a while, I had a more or less beef with my mom. It was just like growing up, teenage years. We didn't see things eye to eye. I resented her for a while, and I moved away with my father. And I think it was in my mid-20s where you have that mindset that everybody does themselves. They set that lifelong time clock of things should be done by now. Things should happen by now. I'm 20 odd, whatever number. This should be happening by now. That self-defeating thing that just hurts us. And so I'm 25, 26 years old. I had just left my first long relationship. Coping with alcohol, just not getting plastered, but just drinking enough to I just don't care enough, or I just don't want to overthink.
Numb.
Yeah. And I was numb, and I was certainly self-medicating in a way that I had seen. And because I wasn't a person, I wasn't drinking in high school. I think I got drunk when I was 21. I was very careful about those things, but I grew up with the conscious thought of let me avoid consequences. Let me avoid bad mistakes. Let me do things correctly, which boiled over. And I was like, nothing in life is going how I planned it. And so I don't care. For this moment, I don't care. And that moment was moments. It was days, it was weeks, it was months. And I think I had gotten to a point, it was about 2 weeks in, and I was a bar manager, and I was just 2 a.m, and I'm looking at a glass of whatever alcohol it was at the time. And I had the biggest epiphany, just that's it. It's crazy how it hit me. It was really like a light switch went off, and I was like, damn. So I put the glass down, I called my mom. And it's late. She was sleepy, groggy out, hey, what's up? I was like, you good? I just said that. I'm like, you're fine. She was like, what do you mean? I just repeated. I was like, whatever we ever had, whatever situation we went through, whatever argument we had, whatever resentment was there, you good? I'm sorry if I ever made you feel bad about it. You solid. And she cried. And it was so powerful at the moment because at that moment, I realized that she was just trying to figure stuff out. And I was at her point. As a child, you didn't get that. Like, you don't understand this. Like, because the parent isn't a person, they're a parent until you get to that point in life. And I was like, wow, like, I am literally numbing. And I watched her do it. And I was like, so every representation where I was confused, I exhibited it. And I was like, that's what that was. And when I felt that low, I was like, she must have felt this years ago. And I was like, wow, I need to call her and tell her. And that forever changed the dynamic of me and my mother's relationship. Like, she expressed her childhood traumas, her demons, things she's going through, things she's still working through. And I became like her diary in a sense for her to like speak on it because I had no judgment in my voice. I had no resentment in my voice. I was like, you good, speak on it.
There's freedom in that.
Yeah. And it was to be able to provide her with that. At that point was my own therapy because I started pouring back into her. I was like, let's go do something. Let's create experiences you never allowed yourself to have because you raised me and my brother. Let me take you to restaurants that you didn't want to go to because we couldn't afford it growing up. Like, that was what that was.
I want to take a second and make sure to recognize that right there is the version of non-monetary success we all talk about in metaphor but never actually know how to do because there's not a number behind it. That is success.
Yeah. It feels great, man. It's like, and I think that in a way is what gave me that mindset to just create room for it. Because I mean, it's easy to cast judgment when you just want to keep yourself safe. But just like you said, like, if there's gray area with things, like, yeah, I understand people need to be held accountable for certain actions, but when you understand people's situations, I feel like there's a lot less room to point the finger. When you, like, this person needed this grace a long time ago and it boiled over. Like, it's like that. It happens. So
this is perfect, but we are at just over an hour, and so I want to get to the alchemical process of the part of our podcast when we distill the knowledge that we have collectively gained between us into those little nuggets of gold that we can keep forever. And so I'm going to go over a 3-part process, but I want you guys to add to it. I want you to reinforce it because I've been writing the notes down and that's the only reason I have this. So I'm going to state what I think we have distilled from this. I want you guys to either confirm, deny, add to it, whatever it's felt like. But at the end, we're going to repeat it at least 3 times. For what I say 3 times becomes true. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
How do we do this? How do we meet thy demons? How do we start the path to harmony using y'all's words? First, we talked about this morning, we have to be more tired of the results of the demons than we are afraid of the pain they bring us. Does that make sense?
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
We have to be more tired. We have to be to a place where we're ready and say, you know what? This is too hard. I'm ready to give up. I'm ready to let the demon win. I'm ready to see its face. And until we can truly believe that about ourselves, we are not ready.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Boom. Number 1, be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Say that with me again. Be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Be sick and tired of being sick and tired. Whoever's listening out there, repeat that to yourself 3 times too. Be tired of being sick and tired. It's number 2.
I say this because I was going to get a tattoo of it. Get to the square root of why.
I'm gonna just pause you there. No, we're not looking for meaning yet. We're not. That's too advanced.
Okay.
We're just distilling it. All right, sick and tired, sick and tired. So now we're ready. We're ready to meet them.
Tear down the wall, take off the armor.
No, that's the end result of what we want. That's the rock star. How do we practice guitar?
Confront.
What do they look like? These aren't metaphors. These are realities that live within us. The word microphone is a metaphor. The word for anything is a metaphor. The meaning we play. These are not metaphors. Who are these entities? What do they look like? How are they standing? What shape do they take? That's the next one. Don't jump ahead. What do they look like? Just what do they look like?
To play off of your words, I say, like, because I always tell people, like, words have power. So how you say something means just as much as what that word is. So confront is one way, and I also say meet.
Mm-hmm.
Just meet. Like,
thy demons.
Yeah. It's like
meet them.
Because confront is like confrontation. It's like I don't hate you because you're me. You know, at least that's how I think about it. I recognize those parts of myself. Like, I'm a person, I don't like anger, but I recognize I get angry, and I'm just like, what is that about? And so I'm like, let me meet you. Like, what is that? Like, what is this? Or, yeah, those things. Because when I say meet, it gives me power. Because if I'm confronting, I'm trying to conquer these demons. And lack of better words, they kick my ass.
Yeah.
You know,
they're strong,
you know, like
man.
I'll walk in, like, no, I'm gonna conquer this. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
We're gonna try this again. Yeah, we're gonna fight again today.
Yeah.
Battle. I'm good at this battle. I like this
That's
battle. Feed me
kinda
that
like,
battle.
Like, I know what you're about.
That dynamic,
Okay.
yeah.
Makes
So-
me stronger.
Meeting is like, let's have a parlay. Let's discuss this. Let's see what this is about. And then that acceptance to the lunch table. It's like, oh, hey, anger, like, you want to take a seat next to me? Hey, depression, you want to, like, grab a spot? Like, let's all talk about this, see where it's at. And then you just create space for it. Like, okay, that's where I create my self-checks. It's like, okay, I know this is what I feel like when I'm anxious. It's like, anxiety, is that about right? Like, yep, you got it. We anxious. Like, okay.
So, how do you meet anxiety? You ask, anxiety, what do you look like? What does anxiety look like if we go inside and meet anxiety? So, number 2 is meet them. Angels, demons, somewhere in between, the different versions of us. When they come up and when we feel something that we don't like feeling, who is inside us feeling that? What do they look like? Just meet them. Does anybody remember one?
Be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Let's repeat that. Be sick and tired of being sick and tired. What's number 2?
Meet them.
Meet them. Say it with me 2 more times.
Meet
Meet them. Meet them. Not meet me, not meet you. Meet them. There might be one in a mirror. There might be a 20-year-old girl, and there might be venom. There might be a hipster. There might be a really cool promoter. There might be an aggressive guy. There might be a sad one, all at the same table. There is no framework besides meet them. Besides meet
I
them.
like what you said about, like, just not confront.
Oh, yeah,
Because
I'm
I
a
always
lose.
ready for a fight with them.
I'm a lose.
Because people always use the notion, fight your demons.
Yeah.
But
The entire
Bhagavad
Bhagavad Gita
Gita
is about fighting a war against your family. It is a battle. Even the ancients describe it as a battle.
Mm.
It's not incorrect, but meeting them might take the sting out of it.
But then the more that we fight them, the more sick and tired we are. And that's what goes back to number 1. And I'm just like, okay, release.
So
Release and invite them to the table and
Because
say, what do you want?
they know me. That's the thing. It's like, fight your demons. Like, this, they know you.
That's the
Right.
thing.
Like,
That's what I say. It's just like,
fighting
it's
them.
too difficult because they know you. They know how, like, you put stuff, like, they know how to get out of the labyrinth, come in. They know all the secret spots. Like, they'll know it.
don't fight, invite. Do not fight, invite.
Mhm.
Do not fight, invite, and meet them. What's number 1?
Be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
What's number 2?
Meet them.
Meet them.
Don't fight, invite, meet them.
Yeah.
Now, we get to the third one. How do we really, really not just meet, but get to know someone? And this goes back to every single thing that we have talked about on every podcast. What are the 2 ways that we save ourselves? I repeat these.
Like welcoming the pain, or
Relationships,
relationships and nutrition.
relationships, and especially writing.
Oh, okay.
Journaling has come up for all of us.
Yeah.
And what we've really been talking about is a relationship with the other people and the other entities within us. And I'm not going to say ourselves, because that brings it all back into one, and it's not one. It's never been one. We have an ego to keep us alive. That it's a mast that can, everything can center around. But if you see a ship, there's like 5 different masts on it, especially if it's going to go far, if it's going to cross the Atlantic. It's not just one. We have to meet them. We have to acknowledge them. We have to be tired of the alternative. But how do we get to know someone? How do we build a relationship?
With honesty.
Talk to them.
Talk.
Talk.
Talk to them.
Just talk. Yeah.
Talk to them. And more importantly, what do we do after we talk?
Listen.
Listen. Thank you. What's rule number 3?
Talk to them. Listen.
Talk to them and listen. Talk to them and listen. Come on, guys, with me. Talk to them and listen. Here's some of the questions that I ask. What do you need? What do you want to say? And how can I help? After each one of those questions, I like to pause and I like to hear the answer. And it's always surprising because I never think of the answer. I'm told the answer, and that's how I realize it's not from the observer. It's from the other part that has controlled me forever. It's the part I'm meeting and the part I'm giving honor to. So I ask them, what do you need? What do you want to say, and how can I help? I'm going to go over these one more time, and hopefully somebody will get something out of this.
I already did. I've never asked myself those questions before. At least the introspective parts of my personalities. And it's like just hearing that, I was like, that's a lot, because it helps me isolate outside of my people-pleasing flaws, being like, okay, what do you want? What does this side of you want? That's not being heard, not being entertained, not being listened to, like, because it's going to get it. And it's going to get in a way that you might not want it. And then ergo resentment, guilt, and everything else like that. And then it's like the separation from it. But that's not me. Like, no, it's very much so you. It's just a side of you you've been ignoring. So listen to it. Talk to it. Make an agreement somewhere. Find something to create balance and peace amongst all of that.
It kind of feels like you haven't, you've shown yourself that you don't come first.
Oh, yeah.
That's why those are questions that are not natural anymore, because it's like you've created this maybe system that is like, well, I don't even think about what I want or why I am.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. This is real wisdom you guys are pouring out. So we're going to go over these one more time, and then I'm going to say good luck with all of your demons. Start to have fun, because these mofos inside us are also our angels, and they will show us the most fun we could ever have by being with and knowing and meeting ourselves. But we cannot meet ourselves until we meet and love our demons. So what's number 1? Be tired of being sick and tired. What's number 2? Meet them
and listen.
Number 3,
Talk to them.
talk to them
Talk to
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
Sorry.
and listen. One more time. 1, be tired. Sorry,
sick and
you're
tired.
be sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
2,
Meet
meet them. 3, talk to
them.
them.
To them and listen.
and listen. And real quickly, I'll repeat those last questions of what to do when to talk to them. Ask them, picture them in your mind and say, what do you need? Picture them in your mind and say, what do you want to say? Picture them in your mind and say, how can I help? This has been Angels and Demons with Miyal, Katia, Earen, and Brian. I really hope that this can give one person even one step closer to meeting themselves. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
It's just beautiful. It's very helpful, insightful for sure. Namely from these conversations, at least every time I hate that I have to say it, but every time I meet a person who has this type of clairvoyance or that type of just like idealism, just that awareness of self, it's helpful because you realize how many people haven't done that yet. And it's sad, but it's not uncommon. But it's like it also just lets them feel like, okay, this is not uncommon. This is not wrong. You're not crazy. You are not alone in this thing, just trying to figure out like how to be myself, unequivocally myself. Because that's just the perfect level of peace that I feel like all of us strive to and just kind of lost in the way. So
That is the work.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
sure.
Thank you.